Hello and welcome to another episode of The Mindset Forge, a podcast where we discuss the best ideas of humanity, the most useful practices, and the most skillful means for developing a more well-adjusted and adaptive mindset. To do this, I will be discussing latest science, ancient philosophy that has stood the test of time, as well as the thoughts and actions of important historical paragons. The goal is to give you tools and practices and ideas for your self-improvement, with the goal of moving ahead the entire humanity. Our discussion will focus on the ideas and practices with the most cash value, so practices that are easy to take up but hold enormous potential. And since most of these practices have to do with changing your thinking and attitudes, they are completely free. Call me Laurent Lohel, I will be your host, and welcome aboard. Also, make sure to like Mindset Forge on Spotify and YouTube, as well as check out our Discord server, where you can find links to my book, which you can buy on Amazon to support my another side enterprise of being a fiction author. Without further ado, let's get to the episode. Mindset Forge, Episode 9. Consciousness. Who's in charge here? There's a story in Zen circles about a man and a horse. The horse is galloping quickly, and it appears that the man on the horse is going somewhere important. Another man standing alongside the road shouts, "Where are you going?" And the first man replies, "I don't know. Ask the horse." Our role as gardeners is to choose, plant and tend the best seeds within the garden of our consciousness. Learning to look deeply at our consciousness is our greatest gift and our greatest need, for there lie the seeds of suffering and of love, the very roots of our being, of who we are. Mindfulness is the guide and the practice by which we learn how to use the seeds of suffering to nourish the seeds of love. Thich Nhat Hanh. The final part of the illusion of the self in Buddhist philosophy is consciousness. I have saved it for last, since it is another area that thinkers have argued and pondered about for millennia, and modern scientists continue their work, but much remains unclear. In more spiritual paths, it is consciousness that can be thought of as the target of improvement, and this is called striving for a higher state of consciousness. From this we glean that consciousness too can be improved, and its improvement can be seen as the most important aspect of all aggregates of the self, even when it is more obscure at the beginning. In this episode we continue to shake the deeply rooted understanding that most hold, and discuss ways to improve ourselves by focusing on this aspect, our consciousness. We usually think that we are consciously directing our lives, but this episode will show that this is not so, at least for the most of us. But I believe we can take more control, or at least consciously choose better impulses, and how to achieve this is also discussed. First, let's clarify some important terms to ensure we are all on the same page. Conscious. Being conscious refers to being aware of and able to think and perceive one's surroundings, thoughts and feelings. When we are conscious, we are awake, alert and engaged with the present moment. We can take in information, process it and make decisions based on our understanding of the situation. Unconscious. The unconscious refers to the part of our mind that operates outside of our immediate awareness. It's a repository of thoughts, feelings, memories, and experiences that we may not be actively aware of but still influence our behavior, emotions, and decision-making processes. Sometimes the unconscious is referred to as the subconscious, although the two terms are often used interchangeably. Subconscious. The subconscious is a term used to describe mental processes that happen automatically without conscious effort or awareness. These processes include habits, instinctive reactions, and ingrained beliefs. The subconscious is a part of our unconscious mind, but some argue that it's a more specific term focusing on those automatic responses and tendencies. Preconscious. The preconscious is another aspect of our mind that lies between conscious awareness and the unconscious mind. It's a mental storage space for information that we are not currently aware of but can access quickly when needed. Think of the preconscious as a mental filing cabinet for memories and experiences that are not actively being thought about but can be retrieved when necessary. In Buddhism, the term store consciousness is employed to mean a stratum of consciousness where all our thoughts, habits, emotions, and all the other characteristics we can develop are based. When these so-called stored seeds are given enough so-called nourishment, meaning attention, and use often enough, they arise to the visible level of consciousness. So the way we are is not random but caused by feeding these qualities lying in our unconscious mind. This view on the subject is used extensively in this podcast as it provides the clearest and simplest and the most effective way of approaching the achievement of personal change. Now that we've defined these key terms, we can explore how to develop our consciousness and tap into the incredible potential that lies within each of us. In this episode, we'll discuss various practices, techniques, and insights that can help us move from a state of mindlessness to one of heightened awareness and self-improvement. Level of consciousness, at least in the Western world, has been classified based on level of arousal from deep sleep to heightened awareness. This can also be measured with EEG, so electrical signals of the brain itself. EEG signals are classified into waves of different kinds, which we'll discuss next. Delta waves. These are slow, high-amplitude brainwaves with a frequency of about 0.5 to 4 Hz. Delta waves are predominantly associated with deep, dreamless sleep or slow-wave sleep, as well as states of unconsciousness, such as anesthesia. When delta waves dominate, our body is undergoing restorative processes and our conscious awareness is minimal. Theta waves, with a frequency range of approximately 4 to 8 Hz. Theta waves are commonly observed during light sleep or drowsiness. They can also be associated with meditative states and deep relaxation where conscious awareness is reduced and the mind may be more receptive to insights or creative ideas. Increased cortical theta activity has also been demonstrated during working memory tasks. Alpha waves. These brain waves with a frequency range of around 8 to 13 Hz are associated with a relaxed and calm state of mind, often observed during light meditation or daydreaming. They are a normal finding in adult awake EEG, especially in an eyes-closed, relaxed state, and are attenuated by eye-opening and mental effort. Beta waves, with a frequency range of approximately 13 to 30 Hz. Beta waves are indicative of an alert and focused state of consciousness. These waves are present during active thinking, problem-solving, and decision-making processes, reflecting a high level of mental engagement and conscious awareness. Gamma waves. These are the fastest brain waves with a frequency of around 30 to 100 Hz. Gamma waves are related to high-level cognitive functioning such as learning, memory, and perception. They have also been associated with peak performance, expanded consciousness, and heightened awareness during states of deep meditation or spiritual experiences. Gamma activity is present when combining perceptions mentally, such as sight and sound, or matching of recognized objects. In summary, different levels of consciousness are characterized by distinct EEG patterns, reflecting the various mental states we experience throughout our daily lives. Understanding these patterns can provide valuable insights into how our brain functions and the connection between our brain activity and our conscious experiences. One tool often discussed for influencing one's state of consciousness are binaural beats, which means having a different frequency of sound play in each ear, which the brain interprets as a frequency that is identical to the difference in frequency between the two tones. By the way, this is yet another example of our brains giving us misleading information about the outside world. Common applications of binaural beats are to use them for concentration or for sleep, depending on the frequency. From what I found, the evidence is conflicting, with some studies finding an effect on EEG patterns but not on attention, with others finding an effect on attention but not on EEG patterns, and so on. A meta-analysis from the year 2021 came to a similar result, but found enough evidence to claim that binaural beats have a positive effect on memory and attention. Other practices that have been shown to have an effect on EEG readings, so our consciousness, are meditation and mindfulness. One review of literature looked at different kinds of meditation, so focused attention, open monitoring, transcendental meditation, meaning meditation with a mantra, and loving kindness meditation, and found multiple changes to different brain oscillation frequencies. Alpha, open monitoring and focused attention meditation have shown increased alpha power during non-REM sleep, and there is also evidence of increased alpha power during meditation itself. Beta, the evidence is lacking and conflicting, with some studies showing no effect and others showing decreased beta power in certain parts of the brain, like the insula. Gamma, experienced meditators consistently show increased gamma power, and mindfulness meditation increases this gamma activity. Gamma activity has been hypothesized to induce neuroplasticity. Theta, meditation has been shown to influence theta power and coherence. The ranging benefits of meditation and mindfulness have been discussed before, and I will certainly continue to do so, but here is yet another way mindfulness practices change their practitioner for the better. A meta-analysis on the effect of mindfulness practices specifically found an increase in alpha and theta activity compared with resting state, and research indicates mindfulness leads to more left-sided activation, which could be associated with more positive effect. Alpha and theta activity are associated with a sense of relaxed alertness, which is the state of mind these kinds of practices aim for. So, in addition to mindfulness changing your experience about yourself and the outside world, as well as your physical brain, the changes reach all the way to electrical signals of your central nervous system. Even if you are not a so-called spiritual person, most everyone would benefit from improving their consciousness into a higher or more relaxed, better adapted state, or so I will argue later in this episode. Another reason why consciousness seems more abstract than the other areas we have discussed is that we rarely give it much thought. Most think that you are either conscious or unconscious, and that's it. When you are unconscious, you don't do anything, and when you are conscious, you are making decisions and acting. But is this so? Next, I will undermine the common understanding of our conscious state, showing how, much like our sense of self, the sense of ourselves making conscious decisions is also an illusion. You might have guessed something along these lines based on how we have seen that many factors like mood and our physical state affect the way we see the world and how we think about it. But let us now look into decision making directly to see how our conscious mind does not actually seem to hold the reins at all. Several studies have provided evidence that conscious decision making is an illusion, suggesting that decisions are often influenced by unconscious processes. Libet's experiment from the year 1985 is one of the most famous studies in this area. Neuroscientist Benjamin Libet measured the brain activity of participants using electroencephalography, so EEG, while they were asked to perform a simple task, press a button whenever they felt the urge to do so. Libet found that a specific pattern of brain activity called the readiness potential occurred about half a second before the participants reported being consciously aware of their decision to press the button. This finding suggests that the brain unconsciously initiates the decision-making process before conscious awareness. A group of researchers who published their findings in the Nature magazine expanded upon these results, showing how the decision could be predicted up to 10 seconds before the subjects became aware of it using a brain scan. That means unconscious processes worked on the decision for 10 seconds before the person became aware of it, meaning they felt, "Yep, I've decided to press the button now." This feeling of being a maker of decisions is illusory, as something in their unconscious influenced the decision seconds before the person became aware of the decision they felt was made by themselves consciously. There is also the matter of subliminal influence to consider. A study by Karremans et al. Demonstrated that participants who were subliminally exposed to a brand logo were more likely to choose that brand's product, even though they were not consciously aware of seeing the logo. Then there is the anchoring effect. In a study from the year 1974, participants were asked to estimate the percentage of African countries in the United Nations after being provided with a random number as an anchor. The participants' estimates were heavily influenced by the anchor, even though they were not consciously aware of its impact on their decision-making process. And these are just a few examples. In previous episodes, we have discussed more situations where decisions were subtly influenced without the participants' knowledge. For example, when people's judgment of a pen was influenced by making them nod or shake their heads beforehand, which we discussed in the episode on embodiment. The practical division of consciousness we have for daily life is the separation of sleeping consciousness from waking consciousness. Mindfulness practices have been shown to improve both, giving you more awareness and improved mood and so on during waking hours, while improving sleep during the night. Meditation and mindfulness have also been shown to improve sleep and affect EEG readings during sleep as well, so your sleeping consciousness is improved as well. Another interesting way to improve and make use of your dreaming consciousness is to take up the practice of lucid dreaming, which means having dreams during which you know you are dreaming and can then affect the dream to varying degree depending on your skill level. Lucid dreaming has been described as a state of consciousness with features of both waking and non-lucid dreaming. So engaging in lucid dreaming is certainly a way to shape your conscious experience. There are many guides online from which you can get the instructions in more detail, but in general the most important preliminary steps are to have strong intention, consider during the waking hours if you are dreaming, keeping a dream journal to improve dream recall. The best scientific evidence we have is combining the induction techniques of wake back to bed and mnemonic induction, meaning you wake up after about 6 hours of sleep, stay up between 30 to 60 minutes while engaging in practices related to lucid dreaming and repeating in mantra-like fashion that you will recognize you are dreaming when you fall asleep the next time. You can also imagine yourself entering into a dream you have had previously and visualize yourself attaining lucidity. In Western culture, lucid dreams are not that well known and are mostly used for fun. After all, one can do anything in their dreams. In Tibetan Buddhism, lucid dreams are used as part of the path of enlightenment. The monks and other practitioners learn how to keep up their lucidity, which also implies their mindfulness must be very strong during the day. In lucid dreams, they learn to do things that are impossible in the waking world, such as multiplying themselves and flying. The teaching goes that when one learns how to work their mind like this, the benefits are seen in the waking consciousness. Just like changing a chair into a tree in a dream, one can then work the contents of their mind during the day and, for example, transform their feelings and reactions on the fly in waking reality. Another intriguing aspect of Tibetan Buddhist practice is that of sleep yoga, which is considered the next step from dream yoga, which means the practice of lucid dreaming for spiritual goals described just before. Sleep yoga means that the practitioner retains awareness in deep dreamless sleep, which sounds almost paradoxical since dreamless sleep is considered a completely unaware state. The experience is described as something very unique, but it usually takes years of specific practice to attain the experience. Again, lucid dreaming is often considered as simply a way to have fun, and you can do that, but there is much more potential to be gained. You probably haven't been using your dreams for any definite goal, but including the time spent in REM sleep into your practice immediately adds at least an hour to your day. If you live up to 80 years, that is a considerable increase. And if you become one of the select few who really put their efforts into this and achieve sleep yoga, meaning awareness for the whole night, and that is 8 hours worth of practice every day. And the benefits of these nocturnal practices are not limited to the night hours. They are carried to daytime life, and the practitioners of dream yoga begin to experience their lives as more dreamlike, meaning as more playful and less serious, and seeing potentials and chances instead of obstacles. And even if you don't use lucid dreaming for lofty goals like these, the fact still stands that you have turned a state of consciousness which you used to have no control over into something you can command, thereby operating on a higher level of consciousness, at least during dreaming. Maybe that is why Professor of Neuroscience Matthew Walker of Berkeley University has wondered if lucid dreamers are the next step of human evolution. And you can be there at the forefront. Another way to make use of specific states of consciousness is hypnosis. I'm sure all this talk of Tibetan yogas and hypnosis will scare away some listeners, but in my view, the smart thing to do is to stay open and look at things without bias to see if there's some truth to them. And rigorous research has shown time and time again that there is a clear effect to hypnosis, at least in people who are suggestible. Hypnosis is defined by the American Psychological Association as a state of consciousness involving focused attention and reduced peripheral awareness characterized by an enhanced capacity for response to suggestion, while hypnotizability is an individual's ability to experience suggested alterations in physiology, sensations, emotions, thoughts, or behavior during hypnosis. Neuroscientific imaging studies have also shown that hypnosis causes changes in the activity of different brain areas. Large meta-analyses have shown that hypnosis is effective in pain relief, depression symptoms, and the treatment of anxiety. This kind of hypnosis requires a separate hypnotist, but if you don't want to book time for one, you can find hypnosis audio scripts online, and there is an application simply called Free Hypnosis available for Android systems, which has plenty of free hypnosis scripts. But if you would prefer to take even more control of your conscious state, which I encourage, there is the practice of self-hypnosis. A meta-analysis on the subject of self-hypnosis showed that self-hypnosis is effective at treating pain, stress, anxiety, hypertension, with some evidence that it boosts the immune system and helps with insomnia. Studies about self-hypnosis have used a variety of methods, with some listening to audio recordings and others teaching their subjects the necessary skills. The authors note that, I quote, "the main ingredients that seem common to the successful outcomes reported herein appear to be individuals A. being taught self-regulated and self-directed skills, and B. having the opportunity to practice self-hypnosis on more than 3 occasions. So, here is yet another tool to control your mood, stress levels and so on, and this time by using an alteration in your state of consciousness. Hypnosis is also often used to boost positive affect, motivation, self-confidence and so on, and if you try it out with an open mind, you just might receive considerable benefits from listening to a hypnosis script. After all, if it is free, simple and has no downsides, why turn down something that can only make things better? To recap, in this episode we have discussed different ways to look at consciousness, classifying it using EEG frequencies as well as the experience or lack thereof of the subject, mainly dividing between waking and sleeping or dreaming consciousness, and the key point being that consciousness can be controlled and developed, and the greatest tool for this is mindfulness. During the day, the mindless person goes through life guided by reactions and habits, basically on autopilot without experiencing or doing much thinking, like a zombie, except feeling a lot more pain due to their uncontrolled mind. Just like the Zen story this episode opened with, it might seem like they are in control, but they are just being carried forward like the rider on the runaway horse. During the day, The mindful person is in control of themselves and is undaunted by anything that they come across. Their feelings unshaken. Their emotional state is calm and joyous, and they are truly living their lives, not just going through the motions. Using this capacity, they can feed the beneficial seeds lying in their unconscious mind, so they develop and create visible beneficial changes on the conscious level, such as when a person notices they are growing less and less anxious and stressed by engaging in mindfulness practices. The anxiety emanates from the subconscious, from the way we perceive things and the way we mindlessly visualize a negative future. So mindfully tending to the garden of our mind on the conscious level cuts away the root of the problem, solving it for good. During the night, the mindless person either doesn't remember anything of the time they spent sleeping, so they essentially did not live at all, or they spent the night tossing from one mindless dream to the next. During that same night, the mindful, or lucid if you prefer, person is aware they are dreaming and use the control provided by this recognition for fun, self-exploration, or for self-improvement. This is the way to work with your state of consciousness and the most clear examples of things that can be achieved by it. Thank you for listening, and until next time. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Mindset Forge. I hope you found it informative and the lessons and practices spoken in it relevant to your situation. I also hope you found it as entertaining to listen as I found making it to be. If you found it beneficial, be sure to follow Mindset Forge on Spotify as well as on YouTube, where you can also give us a thumbs up. Also, make sure to check out our Discord server for further discussion, where you can contact me directly. Links in description and channel information. There you can also find the link to my book, which I have self-published on Amazon, called Death Drive. If speculative dystopian near-future sci-fi sounds like a cup of tea, getting the book is a great way to support my work as an author. So have a nice day, and memento cerebrum formare.